5 years after I had been recognized as the true heiress of the Gardner family when Helena Gardner, the imposter who had taken my place, crashed her car into mine and ruined my legs. My parents and my childhood friend, Bowen Jacobs, rushed me to the hospital in a frenzy. When the doctor said I might be in a wheelchair for the rest of my life, Bowen immediately proposed, vowing to take care of me forever. My parents cut ties with Helena and urged me to hand over the evidence of her crime so they could handle it, insisting I focus on recovering. Later, they told me Helena had fled in fear of punishment and accidentally drowned. I believed them. But 5 years into my marriage, I stumbled upon Helena, who was supposedly deceased, yet very much alive. She was holding a little boy and said to Bowen, "Thank goodness for you and my parents all these years. Otherwise, I might have ended up in prison because of Maisie." She continued, "That cripple probably never expected that you and I have Levi now, our son. Even Mom and Dad helped me cover up everything. They didn't just destroy the evidence, they switched out her recovery meds with vitamins. Bowen, I feel bad that you had to go through all this, marrying that pathetic cripple just to keep up the act." Bowen replied, "Don't say that. Marrying her was the only way I could sign off on her legal documents as her husband and make sure you walked away scot-free. As long as you and Levi are happy, my sacrifice would be worth it." It turned out that the marriage I thought was my salvation was nothing but a lie. My own parents had deceived and hurt me for the sake of the imposter. If that was the case, then I had no reason to stay. At the hospital lobby, I saw Helena holding Levi. With Bowen standing with them, their little family looked picture-perfect. My heart felt like it had been ripped out of my chest, and the pain was unbearable. The man who promised to care for me forever was in love with the woman who nearly killed me. Even after destroying the evidence, my own parents did not believe me. They still forced me to marry Bowen, just so he could protect Helena by signing the legal waivers on my behalf. Just then, my phone rang. It was Mom. "May, why didn't you wait for us? We're almost at the hospital. Where are you?" Her voice was frantic, but I felt only anger. I replied coldly, "Oh, I thought I shouldn't trouble you anymore, so I came for my rehab session alone." "What are you talking about? We're family. You're never a bother. Are you at the hospital yet?" "We're on our way," Mom insisted. In the past, my parents always accompanied me to my rehab sessions. I had thought it was out of love and concern, but now I knew better. "Yeah, I just got here. I'm about to enter the lobby," I said, steering my wheelchair toward a corner. As expected, their tone changed instantly. They told me not to go in yet, saying it was too crowded and unsafe. They said they were nearby and would come find me. I hung up. Mom's eyes flickered with panic. "May, why didn't you wait for us before going in?" Beside her, Dad frowned and added, "We told you the hospital is crowded and chaotic. We didn't want you going in alone. I waited for a while, but you didn't show up, so I went in to use the restroom," I replied calmly, keeping my expression neutral. Mom hesitated, then asked tentatively, "You didn't run into anyone, did you?" Her nervous expression cut through me like a knife. At that moment, I wanted to scream and demand answers on why they had lied to me. Nonetheless, I knew asking now would be pointless. After all, I had already decided to leave. I replied, "Run into anyone?" I was in a hurry and spent a long time in the restroom. I didn't notice anything. Seeing that I did not seem to be lying, they visibly relaxed. Dad grabbed the handles of my wheelchair and said, "Let's go, we'll take you upstairs." Mom crouched beside me and carefully adjusted my face mask. "The flu's been going around lately. You need to protect yourself, or I'll worry if you get sick." In the past, I would have been moved deeply by the concern in her eyes, but now, I couldn't even feel an ounce of love in them. When we reached the rehabilitation center on the 12th floor, I lay down on the hospital bed and let the doctor administer the anesthesia. As I drifted in and out of consciousness, I overheard my parents talking to the doctor, Dr. Adam Roberts. "Ms. Gardner's leg has been neglected for too long. If we don't operate soon, she might never walk again, Dr. Roberts said, his voice low and urgent. The previous rehab sessions were only half completed, and her medication was replaced with vitamins as you instructed. Mr. Gardner, are you really going to let your daughter spend the rest of her life in a wheelchair? Dr. Roberts pressed. Dad's voice was sharp as he snapped, I paid a fortune to bring you here from abroad. Don't question me, just do as you're told. Mom chimed in, her tone equally cold. So what if she can't walk? We can take care of her for the rest of her life. It's none of your business. Dr. Roberts quickly backtracked. I didn't mean it like that. It's just that Ms. Gardner has been on anesthesia for so long that she might develop immunity. What do we do then? That's your problem to figure out. Just make sure her legs don't get better or worse. Keep it under control, Dad ordered. Understood, Dr. Roberts replied. Then, the door opened, and my parents left. I lay on the bed, feeling as though I had been plunged into a frozen hell. They had no idea that my body had already built a resistance to anesthesia. I had heard every word and even recorded it all. So, this was their plan all along. It turned out they had hired Dr. Roberts from abroad and kept him on their payroll for 5 years just to deceive me. It finally made sense to me why the rehab center was located on the 12th floor of the inpatient ward. This whole place was a setup. My heart ached, and tears silent. LY streamed down my cheeks. After the treatment, my parents wheeled me home, their faces full of false concern. Bowen, who had been cozying up to Helena at the hospital just 2 hours earlier, greeted me at the door wearing an apron. Darling, rehab must be exhausting. I made you some homemade chicken soup. It'll help you recover faster, he said, his eyes filled with what looked like genuine care. Bowen still looked like the devoted husband who swore he would love me and take care of me forever. If I had not seen him with Helena earlier or heard their conversation, I might have been moved. But now, his smile only felt like a mask. Bowen had never loved me at all. Instead, his heart belonged to the woman who had shattered my life. To protect Helena, Bowen had even sacrificed his own marriage, pretending to love me. He had gone as far as having a child with her. During dinner, Mom suddenly teared up as she stared at the dishes on the table, wiping her eyes. Bowen quickly put down his utensils and asked what was wrong while Dad gently patted her back and sighed. She probably saw Lena's favorite dish and started thinking about her, Dad explained. Even though Lena made mistakes, we raised her for over a decade. She didn't deserve to die. I noticed them glancing at me, and a bitter feeling rose in my chest. I was baffled that Dad could say Helena did not deserve to die, and it sounded as if I deserved to be sacrificed instead. Bowen said, Darling, it's been 5 years. Helena was only 20 back then. She might have just acted impulsively. We grew up together, and she's always been a bit extreme. She probably felt like you were trying to take everything from her. He hesitated before adding, the anniversary of her passing is in 5 days. I know you don't want to go, but I'll take your parents to visit her grave, okay? His eyes darted nervously as if bracing for me to lose my temper. Sure, go ahead. She spent more time in this family than I did. It's natural you'd have feelings for her, I replied flatly. Bowen visibly relaxed, his tone softening even more. Darling, I knew you'd understand. You've always been kind-hearted. You wouldn't hold a grudge against your late sister. Mom wiped her tears and added, That's my girl. Blood really does run thicker than water. I buried my face in my food, letting my tears fall silently. So, they did remember I was their biological child. My stomach churned, and I excused myself, claiming I did not feel well. Bowen followed me to the room, bringing me stomach medicine and looking genuinely concerned. When I did not respond, he quietly brought warm water and gently wiped my face. For the 10 years since I had been brought back to the family, his eyes had only ever been on me. Even when Helena confessed her feelings to him, he had coldly rejected her. But now, I finally understood. He did not love me, he just wanted to marry the future heir of Gardner Corporation. Love and marriage were two separate things. Late that night, after Bowen fell asleep, I got up and took his phone from the bedside table. The password was my birthday. I was the top pinned contact on WhatsApp, and my parents were below that. Everything seemed normal until I checked his archived messages. That was when I discovered Bowen's secret, his chat with Helena. Helena, Bowen, it's been 5 years. How much longer do I have to keep hiding? Helena, she doesn't even have evidence anymore, and she's a cripple now, what is there to be afraid of? Helena, Levi keeps crying for you. Do you really have the heart to keep him waiting? Bowen reassured her. I'm already discussing things with your parents. Just be patient. It turned out they had brought Helena back to the country days ago, changed her name, and even registered a real estate company under her. The ribbon-cutting ceremony was set for 5 days later, the same day as her supposed death anniversary. My hands trembled as I opened his social media app. I quickly found her account, and the photos made my heart grow colder with each scroll. For the past 5 years, Helena had been living lavishly abroad. She wore luxury brands from Gardner Corporation's lines and lived in a villa owned by the company overseas. Every time Bowen claimed he was traveling for work, he was actually flying out to be with her. Even my own parents were in the photos, smiling brightly. In that moment, I realized they were the real family. I fought back the tears stinging my eyes, took photos of the evidence, and exited the apps. It was also only then that I noticed Bowen had changed his WhatsApp status message. It used to be just one word. The word was waiting. When I asked him what it meant, he smiled and said he was waiting for my legs to heal. But now, his status read, "Time to return." Finally, I understood. Waiting had been for Helena to come back, time to return meant she was supposed to come back now. After that, I placed his phone back on the nightstand and stepped out onto the balcony to make a call. I said, "Hello, I need to book a flight abroad for 5 days from today." 5 days was enough to say goodbye to these 5 years of fake love. I returned to bed but did not sleep a wink. The next day at lunch, my phone lit up with a notification. Bowen glanced at it, and his face turned pale. "Darling, why are you applying to cancel a card?" he asked, his voice tense. I calmly turned off the screen and replied, "My bank card is about to expire, so I scheduled a replacement." He was about to say something, but his phone rang. After answering the call, he said urgently, "Darling, something came up at work. I need to handle it. I won't be able to have lunch with you." I nodded, and my parents followed him to the company, leaving me alone at home. Just as I was about to head out, an unknown number texted me. "Maisie, you heard everything at the hospital yesterday, didn't you?" It was obvious that the text was from Helena, and her messages kept coming. "Helena, Bowen and I have a son together. Helena, when your own parents heard you were injured too badly to have kids, they chose to protect me instead. They pushed Bowen toward me so we could start a family. Helena, Bowen and I are the real married couple, and you're just a pathetic joke. They even helped me start a company. The grand opening is in 5 days, bet they didn't tell you about that, huh? Helena, honestly, I regret not running you over sooner. If I had, all of this would have been mine years ago." Each word felt like a knife to my heart. So, this was why my parents had chosen to protect her and why Bowen had been so willing to be with her. I took screenshots of the messages and found my marriage certificate with Bowen. In his nightstand, I also discovered the legal waivers he had signed. Clutching these, I went to see a lawyer. The lawyer, Fabian Smith, told me that chat records were not solid evidence and that legal waivers signed by family members still held legal weight. When I asked him to help draft divorce papers, he frowned and said our marriage certificate was fake. I felt like I had been struck by lightning, my heart sinking into an abyss. Helena had been right, I was just a fool, a clown in their twisted game. Fabian's eyes lit up as he explained that if the marriage was fake, Bowen's legal waivers were invalid, which could be considered fraud and obstruction of justice. Grateful, I begged Fabian to help me draft a lawsuit. After leaving the law firm, I took a cab to another hospital for a complete checkup. When the doctor told me my legs could still be saved, I burst into tears. He explained that the car accident had caused a blockage in my fallopian tubes, making it impossible for me to conceive, but surgery could fix it. As for my legs, since they had not worsened over the past 5 years, surgery could help me walk again. Your family must have taken good care of you these past 5 years. Otherwise, your legs would have been beyond repair by now, the doctor said kindly. His words filled me with bitterness. Little did he know, my family had been the ones who did not want me to walk again. No, they were not my family anymore. As I left the hospital, I received another message from Helena. The photo showed her holding Levi, nestled in Bowen's arms, with my parents sitting on either side. The 5 of them were smiling brightly in a luxurious villa. Behind them, a calligraphy artwork Dad had made hung on the wall, "Family First." The artwork burned my eyes, making them sting with unshed tears. Their family had never included me. I returned home in a daze, lying on my bed and staring blankly at the ceiling. I had no idea how much time had passed when our butler, Alan Gott, announced their return. The bedroom door opened softly, and Bowen walked in. He bent down and hugged me. He said, "Darling, I'm sorry. I've been so busy with work lately and haven't had time to spend with you. Your birthday is in 2 days. I've talked to your parents, and we're planning something special for you." I stayed silent, refusing to respond. He kissed my forehead, tucked me in, and left. Suddenly, I remembered that 5 years ago, my parents had announced my engagement to Bowen on my birthday. That had been the trigger for Helena to crash her car into me, leaving me disabled. In the 5 years since I had been brought back to the family, I had always felt out of place, unable to act as naturally as Helena did around our parents. Helena had always been the star at our birthday parties, greeting people I didn't even know. She had once said, "Only I deserve this kind of celebration. You're raised in an orphanage, and you don't belong here." She loved stealing the spotlight, and I knew this time would be no different. I knew Helena too well, so I was not surprised when I saw her at the birthday party. She had shown up dressed as a server, wearing a mask. The family's reactions were priceless, a mix of shock and panic. Dad scolded in a low voice, "What are you doing here? This is reckless. If she finds out, all our efforts over the years will be wasted." Mom, however, tried to defend her. "Lena hasn't been home in so long. She just misses us. Why are you being so harsh? She's disguised anyway. May won't recognize her." She pouted and said, "Honey, today is my birthday too. I want to cut the cake later." "Fine. Since Maisie's in a wheelchair and it's inconvenient for her, you can do it," Bowen replied, seemingly swayed by her act. And just like that, Helena cut into the towering birthday cake that was supposed to be mine alone. She even split the chocolate figurine of me in half, a cruel smirk on her face. Then, with a sudden push, she toppled the cake toward me. Everyone was startled by the loud crash and turned to look. The metal stand inside the cake nearly hit my face. Bowen rushed to my side, pretending to be concerned as he asked, "Darling, are you okay?" Then, he turned to Helena and scolded her half-heartedly, "You're so clumsy. You can't even cut a cake properly. Get out of here." I suppressed a bitter laugh. He had clearly seen Helena do it on purpose, yet he played the part so well. What a perfect son-in-law my parents had chosen, so quick-witted and clever. My parents sighed in relief before turning away to get the staff to clean up the mess. With the party still in full swing, Bowen got pulled aside by the endless stream of guests. Since I wanted some fresh air, I headed outside. As I wheeled myself toward the garden, I felt someone push my wheelchair from behind. It was Helena. She said smugly, "Maisie, long time no see. Did you notice that when they sang Happy Birthday just now? After all these years, they still love me more than they love you." She continued, "You should have just stayed in the orphanage. Why did you have to come back and try to take everything from me? Now look at you, a cripple, and even your husband is mine. If I were you, I'd be so ashamed I'd want to die." I looked up at her and replied calmly, the one who should be ashamed is you. The man you loved was supposed to marry me, and you resorted to such extreme measures to stop it because you couldn't accept it. You were almost thrown in prison for it. Now, you have to live under a fake name, hiding like a coward, and even here, you have to disguise yourself. Isn't that embarrassing? Helena's face twisted with anger as I hit a nerve. She kicked my wheelchair hard, sending it jolting. She spat, "What do you have to be proud of, you useless cripple? Mom and Dad destroyed the evidence. No matter how smug you act, you can't touch me." Then, she aggressively pushed my wheelchair toward the pool. When we reached the edge, she smirked, "I'll show you who they really care about." With that, she shoved the wheelchair, and we both tumbled into the pool. The icy water rushed over me, filling my nose and mouth. I struggled to breathe, my arms flailing as I sank. "Darling. Sweetheart." Bowen and my parents rushed toward the pool in a panic. Bowen dove in, swimming toward me. I reached out, desperate, but he swam right past me and grabbed Helena instead. My parents pulled her out of the water, frantic. A bitter smile curled up my lips as I let my hand drop. I sank deeper, my vision blurring. Just as I was about to lose consciousness, Bowen returned and dragged me to the surface. Helena and I lay side by side on the pool deck, my parents hovering over her, pleading for her to wake up. Slowly, Helena opened her eyes and whispered. She suddenly accelerated her wheelchair. I tried to save her, but she pulled me in, the guests murmured among themselves. Someone said, "I heard Helena crashed into her 5 years ago on her birthday. Maybe seeing all this brought back bad memories." Poor thing. Bowen glanced at me, a flicker of guilt in his eyes. Dad looked terrified while Mom threw herself at me, sobbing. "May, why would you do this? We'll take care of you forever." I watched their performance coldly, bitterness welling up inside me. They had been worried about Helena, yet here they were, putting on a show for the guests. I thought it was truly pathetic. Before leaving, Helena shot me a triumphant look, her eyes filled with mockery. My birthday party ended in chaos, and the family rushed me to the hospital. When the doctor confirmed I was fine, everyone sighed in relief. Helena sent me more messages. "Helena, did you see that? He saved me first. Even your parents reached out to get me first. If you have half a brain, you'd get it now. After all, we've been a family for much longer. So, tell me, who's the real loser here?" I ignored her, saving the screenshots as evidence. After bringing me home that night, the entire family left to take care of Helena at her villa. I went to the study and printed out all the photos, screenshots, and chat records. I also copied the audio recordings from the hospital onto a USB drive. This was my final gift to them before I left. The next day, they still had not returned. Bowen texted me, saying he and my parents were out shopping for Helena's death anniversary and that our butler, Alan, would take care of me. I called Alan and ordered him to pack up and throw away everything Bowen had ever given me. Then, I went back to the study and took down the calligraphy artwork Dad had made for me, Health. He had made family first for Helena, yet for me, all he could think about was just health. The irony was unbearable, he was the one who had taken away my health, ensuring I would never walk again. Furious, I threw the scarf and leg warmers Mom had knitted for me into the fireplace, along with every family photo we had taken over the past 10 years. Since I was leaving, I would make sure nothing of me remained in this house. As the flames reduced everything to ashes, I made my final decision. I headed out to find Fabian, handing him the printed documents I had prepared. I asked him to use the evidence to file a lawsuit against Helena the next day. Even if she could not be convicted, I wanted everyone to know she was still alive and that my family had been covering for her. After that, I logged into my social media accounts and uploaded all the pictures and audio files. I set them to go live at a scheduled time, ensuring everyone would see them. Finally, I replied to Helena's message, taunting her, "Do you really think I can't make them abandon you and come back home?" She took the bait and fired back, telling me to just wait and claiming they would not return today. Not long after, I got a call from my parents. They said they still had some last-minute preparations to handle and needed to rush out to get something custom-made, so they told me not to wait up. Everything was going perfectly as I planned. After hanging up, I sent the final piece of evidence to Dr. Roberts. Then, clutching my plane ticket, I left behind the home I had lived in for the past 10 years. The next day, at the ribbon-cutting ceremony for Helena's company, Dad received a call from Dr. Roberts. "Mr. Gardner, bad news. Ms. Gardner seems to have found out the truth about the car accident 5 years ago. She overheard what we said in the hospital room that day." Dad's face turned pale. He tried calling me, only to find my phone was already turned off. "Dad, the ceremony is about to start." "Let's go," Helena said, pulling him to the stage. Before she could even take the red ribbon, the crowd below began to stir. Someone commented, "That's him, right? The chairman of Gardner Corporation, Mr. Edward Gardner? How heartless. Covering for his adopted daughter while letting his real daughter suffer in a wheelchair for life. Disgusting." Another shouted, "Wait, isn't that his adopted daughter standing next to him?" Bowen rushed onto the stage, holding his phone and looking panicked. "Edward, something serious happened. We need to leave now." He dragged Dad away, leaving Helena standing there, confused and alone. In the car, Bowen sped through the streets while Mom pressed him for answers. "What's going on? Tell us," she demanded. When they got home, Bowen handed her some heart medication and finally explained. "Maisie found out about everything. She knows we lied to her." "What?" Mom gasped, her face filled with shock. Dad sighed heavily. "Dr. Roberts called me earlier and told me Maisie overheard us that day. I already asked him to come over. We'll figure this out when he gets here." Bowen cut him off urgently. "There's no time. Maisie posted all the evidence online." He handed his phone to Dad, who scrolled through the posts, his face growing paler with each one. He clicked on an audio file, and a recording of his conversation with Dr. Roberts, while I was under anesthesia, played clearly. The comments section was flooded with outrage. Someone wrote, "Even animals don't harm their own. How could you do this to your biological daughter just to protect your adopted child?" Another added, "Did you see how they tried to destroy the evidence? That's illegal." "Yeah, but look at the documents, her husband signed legal waivers for her. Even if they broke the law, she's not going to jail for it." The fury online only escalated, with people demanding to know if they would really be able to get away with it. Bowen tried to calm Mom down as their phones kept ringing. People kept asking if the rumors about him were true. Meanwhile, Dad was furious as he scrolled through Bowen's leaked messages. He shouted, "I told you not to leave any evidence. How could you be so careless? You didn't even delete your chat history, and you posted pictures on social media? You're an idiot." Bowen looked defensive. "Edward, I didn't think Maisie would go through my phone and dig up my archived messages and social media posts." Soon after, Dr. Roberts arrived. He handed over the remaining evidence to Dad with a deep sigh. Dr. Roberts explained, "Mr. Gardner, I've already said everything I needed to say. You didn't listen, and now my information has been exposed too. I'm going back abroad. All of this was done at your request, not my choice. I believe the recordings will make that clear to everyone. Whatever debt I owed you is repaid now. Goodbye." Then, Dr. Roberts stood up and left without waiting for Dad to respond. Before leaving the country, Dr. Roberts posted an article on his blog to clear his name. In the recordings, he had repeatedly urged Dad to reconsider, so the online backlash against him was minimal. Meanwhile, Dad was overwhelmed with calls from the various companies under Gardner Corporation, all seeking guidance on how to handle the scandal. Later, Helena showed up. "Dad. What do we do now? Reporters were at my company asking if I'm Helena Gardner. I had to show them my new ID to get away. You can't let my identity get exposed." Dad studied her panicked, selfish expression, and his eyes narrowed with suspicion. He said, "Alan told me May left last night. I had people look into it, she's already out of the country. While we look for her, you should come forward and admit that you were inexperienced and made a mistake by hurting her. It's the best way to handle this. You have legal waivers, so you won't go to jail." Helena shook her head frantically. "No. Dad, don't you remember? Bowen never actually married her. If this gets out, I could still go to prison. I can't do that." Dad's expression darkened. "Then what do you suggest we do?" "I'll go back abroad and lay low, like before. You can just tell everyone Maisie's gone crazy, that the audio is fake, and the chat records are photoshopped. That'll fix it," Helena replied. Her words left Dad, Mom, and Bowen speechless and angry. Dad snapped, "You want to run off abroad and leave us to clean up your mess? Do you even realize that audio can be authenticated? You can't just claim it's fake and expect people to believe you." Bowen added, "And those messages? Do you have any idea how much backlash I've gotten because of them? People are accusing me of being a two-timer, some even threatened to sue me for bigamy." He stepped in front of the door, blocking her way. "We cleaned up your mess 5 years ago. This time, you're staying to face the consequences. You've been living too comfortably, flaunting your life and provoking Maisie. This is your fault." Bowen continued, his anger boiling over. Helena turned to my parents, pleading for support. However, Mom let out a weak sigh, clutching her chest. She murmured, "Lena, have we spoiled you too much? You knew you had to keep a low profile, yet you left so much evidence in May's hands. And as if that wasn't enough, you even pushed her further? If you hadn't done that, she wouldn't have dragged your father and me into the fire like this. You've been incredibly irresponsible." Helena opened her mouth to argue, but her phone buzzed. She glanced at it, and her face turned pale. "Maisie sent me a lawyer's letter. She knows there's not enough evidence, but she's still trying to humiliate me." "Who told her my new name?" she demanded, her eyes darting between the three of them. What she did not realize was that her new identity was not hard to uncover. My parents had set up a real estate company in her name, listing her as the legal representative under Ruby Jefferson. She had taken Mom's maiden name, Jefferson, so it was not difficult for me to figure out. My parents and Bowen were stunned by her accusatory tone. It was the first time in over 20 years they had seen such a vicious expression on her face. "You're blaming us?" Dad asked, his voice rising in disbelief as he pointed a shaking finger at her. Dad shouted, "If we wanted to betray you, we would have handed you over right after the car accident 5 years ago. Why would we go through all the trouble of faking your death, sending you abroad, and giving you a comfortable life?" His voice trembled with anger as he continued, "And now you're saying this nonsense? You're nothing but an ungrateful brat." Helena forced herself to stay calm. "That's not what I meant, Dad. I've always known how much you and Mom have done for me. But if I have to go to court, my reputation as a businesswoman will be ruined. How am I supposed to run my company after this? You're still thinking about your damn company at a time like this? Sell the building tomorrow, and once this blows over, go back overseas and lay low." Helena's expression stiffened, his words made it clear he expected her to testify. A strong wave of resistance flashed in her eyes, but in the end, she didn't argue. Over the next few days, Dad barely left the house. Gardner Corporation's stock plummeted, and shareholders demanded answers. They argued that someone with questionable morals had no right to remain as chairman. Eventually, the board forced him to step down. On the other hand, Bowen was busy searching for me, leaving Helena to stay with my parents at the villa. After being accused of bigamy, he posted his marriage certificate with Helena from abroad, but it only made things worse. People called him a greedy opportunist who wanted everything, marrying the heiress while secretly having a child with the imposter daughter. Even Mom was not spared. People criticized her for prioritizing Helena over me, her biological daughter. Someone uploaded a video from my birthday party, and the comments exploded. I always thought it was weird that the masked server cut Maisie's birthday cake. Turns out it was Helena all along, one person wrote. They share the same birthday because they were switched at the hospital. Maisie became an orphan at 5 and lived in an orphanage for 10 years before being found. And every year after that, she was pushed to the sidelines while Helena stole the spotlight, another commented. Exactly. And remember when they both fell into the pool during the party? I bet Helena pushed her. There's no way Maisie, in a wheelchair, could have caused that. Helena's lying through her teeth, someone else added. As more people dug into Helena's past, her true nature became clear. Friends and acquaintances came forward, describing her as manipulative and capable of such cruelty. Some outraged protesters even showed up at our family's villa, throwing trash and holding signs demanding that Helena face justice. 2 weeks later, Bowen finally found me. By then, I had already undergone surgery, and the doctors said I would be able to walk again after 3 months of recovery. Even the fallopian tube surgery had been a success, as if fate was finally on my side. When Bowen appeared at my hospital bed, he looked exhausted and much thinner. Darling, I'm so sorry. I cut him off with a cold laugh. Don't call me that. I'm not your darling. Bowen sighed, his voice pleading. Maisie, whether you believe me or not, I've always loved you. But Dad found out you couldn't have children, and he didn't want Helena to go to jail either, so he forced me to marry her and have a child. That way, even if you found out the truth, you couldn't challenge Levi's position as the heir. Bowen argued, I had no choice. I cut him off sharply. Enough, Bowen. Don't act like you're the victim here. You had your own agenda. If I became the heir, staying by my side worked for you. If I was out of the picture and Levi became the heir, you'd still benefit. You're just as selfish as Helena. You two are the same. Bowen's face turned pale as I called him out. He pleaded, but the care and love I showed you over the years were real. Can't you forgive me for the sake of the 10 years we had together? No, Bowen. You made your choices, and now you have to live with the consequences, I said firmly. I pressed the call button for the nurse and told her not to let Bowen visit me again. He was escorted out, leaving me in peace. A week later, news broke that Helena would face a public trial. I tuned into the live stream, where Helena looked as defiant as ever. Do you seriously think some questionable chat logs are enough to convict me? If you don't have solid evidence, just let me go. However, my lawyer, Fabian, was relentless. Since Helena had no concrete proof, he spent 2 hours tearing her apart, dragging her and Bowen's sham marriage into the mix. Helena was fuming but could not argue back. Opposing counsel, don't you think this behavior is utterly shameless? Fabian quipped, even turning to Helena's own lawyer for agreement. Helena's lawyer buried his face in his files, muttering under his breath, money isn't everything. If I'd known I'd be publicly humiliated like this, I wouldn't have taken this ridiculous case. The courtroom struggled to hold back laughter. By the time the trial ended, Helena's gone from red to deep purple, absolutely livid from the verbal beating she had just taken. Honestly, I found it hilarious. Then again, I felt it was a shame that she only faced public humiliation in the country. It felt like she got off too easy. What I did not expect was that my parents and Bowen would take matters into their own hands. After the trial, the atmosphere at home was tense. Dad, who had been ousted from the board, rarely went to the office anymore, and Mom spent her days crying. She begged Bowen to bring me back, but he told her I refused to see him. That was when they finally realized I had erased every trace of my existence in that house. Every gift my parents had ever given me, every memory of Bowen and me, every single thing that tied me to them, I had burned it all in the study until nothing but ashes remained. Not even a single photo remained. Maisie must hate me so much. I never should have listened to you all back then, Mom sobbed, her cries grating on Dad's nerves. Enough. We all made this mistake together. Crying about it now won't change anything, Dad snapped. He added, Bowen, didn't you say Maisie had surgery abroad? Find a way to send her some money. It's the least we can do to make it up to her. Helena, who had been sitting quietly, suddenly exploded. Dad, you can't send her money. She's the reason we're in this mess, treated like outcasts. How can you still take her side? Her shout startled Levi, who burst into tears. Bowen quickly picked up Levi, comforting him while scolding Helena. You scared Levi. This is all your fault, to begin with. We've been trying to protect you and make up for what you did to Maisie. How can you blame us now? Helena's eyes darkened with anger. Don't act like you're innocent. You've slept with Maisie countless times over the past 5 years, but I didn't call you out for being disgusting. Yet, you're here lecturing me? You're lying. Bowen shouted, so furious that he set Levi down and moved to slap Helena. But before he could, Helena struck first. The sound echoed through the room, and Dad erupted in anger. Look at what you've become. We spoiled you rotten, he roared, his face red with rage. Helena's eyes gleamed with a dangerous light, and Dad snapped, What? Are you going to hit me too? Helena smirked, her expression chilling. Dad, how could I ever hit you? Levi is the future heir of Gardner Corporation. Of course, I'll take good care of you. Finally hearing her true intentions, Dad's face turned crimson. You're delusional. Maisie is still my daughter, even if she's abroad. We haven't cut ties. I'll call my lawyer right now and rewrite my will. You won't get a single cent from Gardner Corporation after I'm gone. I'm disowning you. He pulled out his phone, but before he could dial, Helena slapped it out of his hand. She stomped on it, crushing it under her heel. She hissed. Dad, for 25 years, you and Mom loved me the most. We're family. You think you can abandon me and give everything to that useless Maisie? Not a chance. I've taken care of you all these years. Even as an adopted daughter, I have rights. You can't take my inheritance away, she shouted, her voice rising. Mom, who had been silent until now, could not take it anymore. You've never suffered a day in your life. You've had drivers, household staff, everything handed to you. Meanwhile, Maisie struggled her whole life. You envied her, but have you ever stopped to think that she's our real daughter? If she hadn't been switched at birth, you'd never have had this life. Instead of being grateful, you've been jealous of her. You almost killed her. And even then, we protected you, even lied to Maisie. Is this how you repay us? Mom demanded, tears streaming down her face. Mom. You've been against protecting me from the start. And you call that not favoring Maisie? Helena shouted. Helena had never raised her voice at Mom before, and the outburst was too much for Mom, who clutched her chest, her face turning pale. Nancy. Bowen rushed to find her medication while Dad, enraged, slapped Helena across the face. Look what you've done. If anything happens to Nancy, I'm throwing you out of this house, he yelled. Helena had never once been hit by them, and she completely lost the little sanity she had left. She shrieked, You hit me over that worthless Maisie? She shoved Dad with all her strength, causing him to stumble backward and hit his head on the marble coffee table. When he did not get up, Helena sneered. Stop pretending, Dad. You're not making that call today. Then she looked down at the red slowly pooling beneath his head and realized something was terribly wrong. She dropped to her knees, checking his pulse, and her face went white. It's not my fault. I didn't mean to, she stammered, scrambling backward. Bowen returned with the medication and froze at the scene. He screamed, Helena, what did you do to Edward? Helena lunged at him, covering his mouth to silence him. Mom, struggling to crawl toward Dad, let out a blood-curdling scream when she realized he was gone. She collapsed, unconscious. Bowen sank his teeth into Helena's hand, and she yelped in pain, releasing him. He shouted, Nancy. He ran to her side, fumbling to force the pill between her lips, but it was too late, Mom was no longer breathing. With Dad dismissing all the staff after the scandal, only Bowen, Helena, and their 5-year-old Levi were left in the house. Levi wailed in the background as Bowen turned to Helena, his eyes blazing. "Helena, after everything Mom and Dad did for you, you killed them. I'm calling the police." Before he could finish, Helena grabbed a heavy crystal ashtray and smashed it into his head. She did not stop until Bowen lay motionless on the floor. "You really thought you were Maisie's man? Go to hell, you scum," she spat, her voice cold. Helena knew there was no escaping the death penalty now, and if she was going down, she was not going alone. The call came early in the morning. Alan told me Helena had set the villa on fire, and even Levi had not survived. I was shocked, but knowing Helena's selfish, spoiled nature, it wasn't entirely surprising. My parents and Bowen had brought this on themselves. They deserved it. 3 months later, my legs had fully healed, and I could walk again. I returned home to claim my parents' ashes and inherited Dad's shares in Gardner Corporation. My new life was just beginning.